Back in January of this year, I released a bit of a different video to my channel, my brother Sean's top 10 roller coasters. Sean does a lot of traveling with me, and while he isn't necessarily a roller coaster enthusiast, he does very much enjoy riding them and has his own unique opinions. Since we released his 2021 list, he has now ridden at least 175 new roller coasters, meaning he likely has around 300 coaster credits. Just this year, we took 3 big theme park related trips together. First was Florida back in March, where he had the opportunity to visit SeaWorld Orlando, Islands of Adventure, and Busch Gardens Tampa for the very first time. Then came our biggest trip ever, which was our 7-week stay in Europe. We got to ride coasters in 7 different European countries, including Germany, Poland, Denmark, Belgium, the Netherlands, France, and Switzerland. Lastly, we took a Midwestern coaster trip together just last month to Kings Island, Holiday World, and Kentucky Kingdom. Having already seen his updated list, it's been interesting to see what rides from each of the trips we've been on have made it into his overall favorites. The one big disclaimer I want you to take note of is my brother has not yet been to Cedar Point. I suspect at least 3 of the coasters there would have made his list. Anyways, that's all you're going to hear from me in this video. Like last time, I'm gonna let my brother do all the talking, so I hope you all enjoyed the list, and without further ado, take it away, Sean.
Somehow, I have found myself in a strange and fascinating circumstance this past year, arriving in locations that some of you might be familiar with, and some that you clearly might not be. Ohio, we see you. While Mark had the unreal idea of traveling to outlandish countries like Switzerland and Iceland this year, these countries awe-inspire with each its own nature.
What? Oh shit, what is happening?
Still and somehow, I've ran over 175 coasters since the last time we've spoken. This is problematic because I have not been able to express what my true list of elite coasters are. This is why we gather here today. Feel welcome to share your endless love and support or vicious hatred in the comments below if you think your list is exactly the same as mine. Let's begin. Number 15, Superman Krypton Coaster at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. This flawless coaster is outstanding with its interactions with the query wall, 6 inversions, and absolutely no trim brakes. The layout is so memorable, and while many might not have this coaster on their radar, it is a must-ride every visit to San Antonio. Of the many Superman-themed rides, this one stands out as the best, and in my opinion, the most complete. Number 14. Fly at Phantasialand in Germany. So, I've now suddenly been international. As such, expect a sequence of amazing coasters from Europe in this list, with the first one being Fly from Phantasialand. Immersion can be legendary at some theme parks, and the standards of Phantasialand are definitely met. The technology used, the layout through the themed areas, and your body's prone position all create an atmosphere that is simply magnificent. Clearly, this park had an unlimited budget. Can't relate. Number 13, Medusa's Steel Coaster at Six Flags Mexico. An artistic layout like Medusa's needs to be seen, and that is why we spontaneously flew to Mexico last year. Well, that and authentic Mexican food, towering cathedrals, and a serendipitous ride on bull at Selva Mexica. Anyways, so many elements on this ride are so much fun, from the opening barrel roll drop, low to the ground turns parallel with one another, and a slow moving heartline roll. A night ride is the time to ride Medusa, as the speed is more pronounced and reflects the ride's greatness. Number 12, Untamed at Walibi Holland. This ride is amazing because nearly all of my memorable moments on Untamed are the consecutive sequence of bunny hills. While I do think this ride could have been taken at a greater speed to fully appreciate Untamed's larger elements, I understand that during our visit, the lift chain was slower than normal due to mechanical issues. Regardless, the elements closer to the ground made an impact on my thighs, and the last inversion is a glorious ending to a solid RMC. Number 11, Destroy Discarnen at Hansa Park in Germany. I was nearly blind for half of this ride, being dropped backwards in the darkness and then being hoisted out into the sunlight without any time for my eyes to adjust. That's what made this ride so amazing, having to take the ride's most intense elements without knowing what was to come next. By the time I put myself back together, we were blazing through the layout at disorienting speeds. Also, the tower is a classic piece of architecture to accompany a not-so-classic ride experience. Number 10, Legend at Holiday World in Indiana. Our experience at the Holiday World was the most aesthetically pleasing experience I've had at a theme park, and it was not because of the park's theming. We went here on the last day of the season, with heavy rain and peak autumn color surrounded by cornfields. This is what made Legend legendary. Riding at such intense speeds in these conditions is what I could have only dreamt of before actually experiencing it here. My favorite element was probably the double helix that never seemed to end, and as a result, I was practically crushing Mark from the laterals, and to think that this isn't even my favorite coaster at this park. Number 9, Hyperion at Energylandia in Poland. This is my favorite traditional hypercoaster, but even so, it's still not even that traditional. The wing seating setup adds an extra layer of intensity, and this coaster contains an inversion, which is not typical of a hypercoaster layout. This coaster creates so much anticipation when viewing it upon entering Energylandia, and the layout did not disappoint. The first 2 major drops are such a nice contrast to the low-lying maneuvers that occur later on, and that makes this coaster a re-rideable one. Number 8, X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain in California. It's been years since Mark and I have ridden this together, so I'm rating this ride nearly on past nostalgia. X2 was one of the first coasters we rode together, and it still holds up strong. The four-dimensional elements are quintessentially unique, and I'm pretty sure that I'll be returning to the park soon. Don't be surprised if the rating fluctuates, as now I have a plethora of experience that I can pull from. Number 7, Iron Gwazi at Busch Gardens, Tampa. My bias wanted to make this a top 3 coaster simply because it is a unique and imposing shade of pink. And while this is not the case, you should see what my top 3 actually are. Still, Iron Gwazi holds up magnificently with the death roll as one of the most outstanding elements that I've ever experienced. This is a ride where the elements hit consecutively, making this experience an intense one. A night ride on Iron Gwazi is immensely disorienting, without seeing what comes next, and at this point, it has long been given a chance to warm up. Number 6, Iron Rattler at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. If you remember from earlier this year, Iron Rattler was my number 1, and while this is not the case anymore, this ride will always hold a place as my first identifiable number 1 coaster. The 2 primary drops are so good, and while many may disagree, I think the pacing is quite nice. Of course, the use of the quarry wall rightfully gets the praise it deserves, and in the end, this ride alone makes Fiesta, Texas a wonderful visit. Number 5, Tornado at Bakken in Denmark. If you have not seen our video from this park, we got to ride Tornado on the most extreme setting of boost mode without trim brakes. These POVs demonstrate this intimate creation in ways that words could never. Still, I guess I can give it a try. Being held hostage by the ride ops, we consecutively rode Tornado 4 times while the ride settings continuously became more evolved. In addition, I literally did not get a second of sleep the night before and was essentially running on willpower at this point. Here I was, wide awake, trapped in a never-ending spinning glitch. This experience was genuinely one of the best in all of Europe, and it goes to show how the amazing personalities of just a few can make your experience that much better. Expect this to be the most danger you'll ever be in Denmark. Number 4, Voyage at Holiday World in Indiana. The first drop on this ride is definitely the most aesthetically pleasing drop that I have ever seen, with the metallic bronze foliage on both sides of the drop, with a light moody fog filling in the space through the trees. It's a shame that the POV was corrupted. However, I so strongly hope that I can visit again during the same atmosphere in later years. The length and speed of this wooden coaster is unmatched by few others, and the setting within the forestry is simply on point. Due to its intensity, I would strongly recommend questioning if this is a ride you should ride, because there is a chance that might be a little too much to handle. Life decisions were questioned. Number 3, Zadra at Energylandia in Poland. Zadra, my favorite RMC creation, is masterfully done because the main elements feel so pronounced and are set up in the perfect way through slight transitional shifts. These shifts allow anticipation before the upcoming element and exactly align with my tastes. This can clearly be seen before the Zero G stall and the twisted airtime hill. The ride is a great representation of Poland because I feel that both are absolutely incredible. Mark and I both agree that this is a back row ride, but honestly, any seat does this ride justice. Number 2, Ride to Happiness at Plopsaland in Belgium. Prior to this ride, my opinion on spinning coasters was not the best, and truthfully, I was anticipating this ride to be a complete flop. Ride to Happiness dramatically flipped that script. This is a perfect ride and one of the best coasters ever built. The Jojo roll, the banana roll, and the flying snake dive are unbelievably unique elements, and the spinning trains on this coaster actually enhances the overall experience. The 2 launches are placed at the perfect moments throughout the ride, and there is a sense of journey with how the soundtrack syncs up with the elements. Depending on your position, the airtime may be euphoric, especially on the first drop in the back row and the final double up. If you are a coaster enthusiast, Belgium is waiting. Number 1, Velocicoaster at Islands of Adventure in Florida. Velocicoaster ultimately takes my number 1 spot because of the sole fact that this ride makes me feel better after riding it. Even if a ride is amazing, most rides will give you a feeling of exhaustion, tension, or as if you've been beat up a little. This is not true with my Velocicoaster experience, and combined with the tasteful architecture and classy layout featuring 2 very distinct halves, this ride is perfect. The all-black color scheme within the rockwork and tropical landscaping is amazing, and most importantly, the Mosasaurus roll is the single best element I've experienced to end a ride, and possibly ever. I'm not sure if we'll ever have a new number 1. As you can clearly see, I've been around this past year, and now I'm officially broke. Thanks for watching.